Well, hey there. Let's go ahead and get started with this review for 1000 times resist, or maybe 1000x resist. I truly don't know which one is preferred. But anywho, as a warning, this game is very story heavy and I will be talking a little bit about spoilers due to the majority of this game being about that one particular singular aspect more than anything else. If you haven't played it, take this as a warning and return when you've finished it. For those of you that are still left, let's dive into the story and analysis of 1000 times resist. So, 1000 times resist was a game that I heard a ton of people talking about last year, giving it so much praise. Different podcasts and other gaming industry people would talk about the overwhelming and incredible story that this game had. And my first impressions were that the story and voice work were absolutely phenomenal, taking me on an incredible journey through the eyes of a girl who we were kind of just re-experiencing some of her memories throughout the game. I do have some gripes here though. Overall though, I think games like 1000 times resist are a prime example of how storytelling should be done in games, and how only really the medium of games can allow you to experience a story in such a way. But let's go ahead and rip that band-aid off right here at the start, because, well, the story is confusing. It's told in a very non-linear way, which I could mostly kind of piece together, but it was still convoluted and confusing for the most part. Discovering different parts of the past being pieced together builds the suspense over time, but it also felt jumbled, even from the start. Did I absolutely love and adore the characters and voice actors? You bet your ass I did. Was I lost for the majority of the overarching narrative and where it might have taken place within the timeline? You also bet your ass I did. It doesn't focus on giving you a concise or straightforward story, and instead it wants you to just piece it together. Get a little lost in the sauce, but enjoy the aspects of learning not only where we are in the story, but what is currently happening to specific characters, and how this particular piece that you're currently experiencing fits into the overall puzzle. It's set in a futuristic world that also reflects on some actual real events in current day and in our recent past. The majority of the game takes place in the future after an alien race has come down to Earth and brought along with it a deadly disease. It has spread throughout the world and humanity, causing people's fluids to painfully leave their body through every orifice. Yet there was one person who was immune to this, a teenage girl. Her friends and family eventually pass on, and we actually get to view their emotions and feelings of the world and the people surrounding them before their passing. Then the portions of the game that take place in the future has to do with these clones and protective soldiers who are slowly going insane, and so much more. The story is incredibly compelling in the way that it starts, but retains that compelling nature all the way through to the end. It starts with a slow and somber tone, and sometimes it'll turn into something a little bit lighter and happier, but it maintains a seriousness throughout, where you sometimes walk around this more open area where you're talking to different characters and you're just kind of enjoying the bright nature of things. But as you continue, it seemingly only gets darker, deeper, and more dramatic. None of this is bad though. As an overall story, I enjoyed learning about the connective tissue between All Mother, the colors relating to the sisters and their functions, along with the past that led to the current events unfolding before us. The world has basically come to an end. We are the last human remaining. The same way the game starts is about the same way that it ends. Not knowing what comes next, but knowing that moving forward is about all we can do sometimes. The gameplay is nothing special. All you're really doing is walking or jogging around and having conversations with interesting characters in the world. They do help build that world around you, with every single little character and story element that you experience just adding to it. You have selections to make when conversing with these characters. These don't really affect anything in the game, and they're more or less to just give you more information if you want it. And I spoke and interacted with about 90% of every character with every dialogue option, and exhausted everything that they needed to tell me so I could learn everything about this world. Outside of these conversations, in some cases, you'll do this weird pseudo-platforming teleporting thingy around these specific locations. You're basically just kind of flying through a level where you experience the story from a new perspective. You also advance or go back in time during specific sections where she kind of holds her arm out to the left and right. It's a little goofy. Sometimes you do this to resolve like conversational puzzle pieces, but normally it's just to kind of talk to specific characters that allow you to move the story along. There really isn't anything else for gameplay here. You'll instead be working your way through this confusing but enthralling story and world, one beat at a time. There are no side quests, there are no progression elements, no combat, no dice rolls, no inventory. It is a very stripped down story experience. Some would consider this to be a bit of a walking simulator, and I don't fully disagree if someone would reference it as such, but just know if you decide to check out this game on your own or watch a playthrough, I highly recommend it. Especially at full price of only $20, it took me around 15 hours or so to play it completely. Mind you, I did do a ton of running around and soaking in every little bit of information that I could find, so you could probably complete this game quite a bit faster, and the graphics are this uniquely 3D style that I've never really seen before. It maintained my interest, seeing the new outfits over time that each character would have, or the lighting being used from a new section of the game. I think that the quote-unquote art aspect of the game is what really sold me. The story, while impressive, didn't really hit me like I thought it would. Certain spots did really hit me close to home, but it began being very confusing by the end. It's jumbled around on purpose for you to kind of piece together in your head after, but it made me, well, jumbled and confused as well. I didn't necessarily dislike this feeling, I enjoyed 1000 Times Resist. Its incredible soundtrack and voice acting, its weird way of showing perspectives through time and situations, the very human elements on display, and these all culminated in me ending the game thinking, wow, what an experience. And I think that's the best way that I can explain this game. It's an experience. It might make you question life choices and your own perspective and views on the people and world around you. As another note here at the end though, the game's story centers around the very real Hong Kong protest. I learned a lot throughout my experience with this game, and I didn't know pretty much anything coming into it prior. And I don't have many feelings or opinions regarding this because I'm still very ignorant on the subject. But if you would like to learn more, I suggest the many articles and information at your disposal through the internet, and this game gives you a glimpse into that world. And it's one that I kind of wish that I knew about sooner. Again, there are many more resources and people out there more interconnected into the subject than I could ever hope to be. And honestly, I can't even properly formulate opinions because I don't truly understand the overall subject. I mean, I'm just some white dude from the United States, you know? My perspective in this is very limited, but I can appreciate and understand the story that they're trying to tell and how its portrayal made me feel. So take my thoughts with a grain of salt and be sure to research further if you want a more in-depth analysis into the themes of 1000 Times Resist. But that is going to be it for this review. It's a bit of a shorter one about a very serious topic in a sci-fi futuristic story that grabs you by the throat and takes you for a ride, where I feel that it never truly lets you go, and I think that if you experience the story all the way to the end, then it's probably going to stick with you for a while. The game crashed on me a single time throughout my playthrough, but outside of that, it played flawlessly. And I just have to reiterate here how fantastic the voice acting and the writing of these characters are, and also the song list for this game. Not only is it absolutely fucking huge, but all the songs are great. They're very melancholic, but then they give you that emotion and vibe that just, it's right for the moment every time. But I hope you enjoyed this very simple and very short review of 1000 Times Resist, and if you made it this far, do all that YouTube stuff if you can, and I'll see you next time.